And I'm very glad to welcome back to our studios here Brian Johansson. He is the president and CEO of the Erie City Mission. And Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always my pleasure. Thank you.
It is, when you come, we get to talk about things of faith, but we get to talk about things of life change.
Correct. Yeah.
And, what we're talking about, what we're going to start with here is being able to have some fun and fuel these missions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about a couple things, but the first one is this event that we started last year called Broadway by the Bay. And so this is a new concept in fundraising events. So there's no charity auction, there's no 50-50, there's no baskets. It's a beautiful presentation in the Warner Theater by some legitimate Broadway stars, and my connection to that is from my time in New York. My good friend Ivan Rutherford, who has the distinction of over 2,000 performances of Jean Valjean in Les Mis on Broadway. Good friend of my wife and I's for 25 years. And he agreed to come last year to Erie and put on a show, and he put on a great show.
What do you think of the whole environment and the whole event? From his point of view.
He was thrilled to be here, and I think he loved the audience. He loved the whole feel of it, and he's loved it so much that he agreed to come back this year.
It's amazing.
And so he's also bringing with him a woman who has the distinction of being the longest-running Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway. So this is Jackie Burns. She's very accomplished. Been in quite a few productions, but she's best known for the Wicked production. So the two of them will be putting on lots of numbers of duets and songs from well-known plays like West Side Story and Oklahoma and Annie Get Your Gun and obviously Wicked and Les Mis. So there's going to be some great Broadway theater there.
It really sounds like an incredible program, and I'm thinking about getting in the makeup every night for poor Jackie. It's a lot.
Well, those guys, they do 7 performances a week. I mean, you got to think about that's a lot. 2 on Saturday. I mean, that's a lot of performances.
Yeah, I think they get 1 night off a week.
It's incredible.
Impressive. When you brought this last year, you knew it was something different,
Yes.
for the mission and for the community here. Why do you think that it worked? I mean,
well, the first thing is it did work. I mean, we were able to raise some significant funds for the mission. We had a great attendance. We had about 750 at the Warner, which is very good for the first time out of the gate. We also had a wonderful VIP dinner up in the rehearsal hall, which was beautiful, raised a lot of money for a good cause. And I think it was different, all right? So I think people were looking, and the thing I like about it is a corporation could say, hey, I'm going to buy a table and send my customers or my clients or my executives to a show where we're not going to do a hard ask. We're not going to have you raise your hand. You're just going to come and have a great dinner and have a great Broadway level show and do it all for a good cause. It's a different concept.
The mission has always had a broad appeal to those that might want to fund it. And I think this kind of maybe puts it on another level that way.
Yeah, so well, first, Erie is a generous town. I have really come to know, I've been here 2.5 years, I have just been overwhelmed by the generosity of individuals who have been supporting the mission consistently. But it also, this event allows me and my team to present to a larger, different audience than we're normally presenting to. So these are folks that are a little more resourced. It's a little different crowd than we're used to presenting to, and I really think people are responding to a great show, but also it's a good cause, and we do a nice job at intermission of presenting that to them.
When you think about the heritage of the mission and being able to make sure that new generations understand what's at stake. This is I think it's just a fascinating and a cool way to be able to present that in the context of fun and really high perform. I mean, we're talking about top-notch performance here.
This is, as my team would say, legit. So
there you go.
This is legit, and I think that's a young person word that they're. I said, yeah, it is legit because it's, and not that there aren't a wonderful organizations doing great work in Erie, but I think the mission kind of sets itself apart by being able to pull off an event like this. This is impressive, and a lot of people have gotten behind it and supported it.
All right, so talk about how folks can get kind of plugged into Broadway by the Bay.
Yeah, so the dinner's sold out. The luncheon is sold out at this point. So we're looking for general public tickets. They're $49. You can get them at Erie Events box office and pick your seat. Seats go fast. Erie, I'm learning, is a last-minute town.
100%.
So they are they're waiting till the last minute. So I would challenge folks to make sure you get the seat that you want and get in. If you're planning to go, I would challenge you to get on and get your tickets because they do go pretty fast, and it is a show worth seeing. And I think for the price tag, it's a wonderful presentation, but also for a great cause.
Well, and what was, again, having gone to it last year, what was impressive to me is how Ivan told his stories behind some of the songs, his stories of different places where he performed.
Yep. He's a performer, right? So he's not shy. He's very gregarious, and I think he tells about life on Broadway a little bit, and he tells a little bit about the song. And I remember his famous story about him doing Jean Valjean, and he pulled his arm behind Javert and caught his wig in his hand, and it pulled it right off, right on Broadway. So he tells these stories and just real life, and people eat it up. They just love that real life experience.
There's no doubt. And you mentioned off air that there's some other folks getting involved in the performance as well locally.
Yeah, so we thought that we would tap into some of the wonderful talent here in Erie. So Erie is an arts town. So it is very theatrical, the Philharmonic is partnering with us as well on this. So you know that. Their artists will be performing. The piano player will be from the Philharmonic, and then the trio will be playing during the dinner. But we thought, how could we partner? And just so happens that Cathedral Prep did Les Mis as their play this year, a couple weeks ago actually, and it was tremendous. So we thought maybe we could work with them in some way to kind of get some of the kids on stage for a number with Ivan, and so we've arranged with them and Corella Productions, who does their theater at Cathedral Prep, to get a bunch of the kids on stage with Ivan and Jackie and do two numbers. So they're going to do the For Good number duet from Wicked, and they're going to do the One Day More, which is the famous climax at the end of the first act, and they're going to do that that song with Ivan and all the parts in character, in costume, on stage.
Oh, that's fabulous.
It's going to be really, really cool.
What an opportunity for those kids. My goodness.
Apparently they're excited about it. I met with her this morning, Patty, and she said they're all very excited.
Very cool. Okay, so again, tickets available at Erie Events, $49, and again, the date, it's a Thursday night, right?
So it's May 21st, Thursday night. Show doors open at 7, shows at 7:30. And it will be a show that's worth going to, frankly.
Yeah. It is one of those really memorable moments, and it'll be one of those things that you'll remember for a long, long time. I'm talking to Brian Johansson. We're going to take our break. We're going to get to the Women's Haven that's coming up, a new concept that of really taking care of some of the least of these here in our community. Stay with us. Talking to Brian Johansson from the City Mission, Erie City Mission, and again, the mission, based 100 years in downtown, but now new opportunities are coming around. Brian, give us a little bit of the backstory here on this haven that you're talking about.
Yeah, so when I came to Erie 2.5 years ago, the board challenged me to create a strategic plan. And so we took about 6 months and looked at the needs of Erie and talked to a lot of folks and really came up with a couple of things for that strategic plan. But the big thing was there is a need for emergency care for women and children in Erie. So we discovered that 28% of the national homelessness population is women and children.
Wow.
So let's think about that. That's almost a third of the homeless people in America are women and women with children. That's a different from 50 years ago when it was the bum on the corner, right? And that, again, that's tragic in and of itself. But when you think about having a mom and kids who are struggling to find food and struggling to find a place to live in America in 2026, that's tragic. So
what's their live experience? I mean, are they living in their car? Are they couch surfing with a friend?
All of the above. And I think, if you look at the causes of it, I mean, there are a lot of causes of domestic
abuse,
violence, economic issues, evictions, addiction, mental health issues, all of the above sometimes, and complex issues. It's not a easy one fix. It's a complicated issue, therefore it needs a complicated answer, right? So the mission took on the job of trying to create and raise money to start and create a haven for women and children. We're calling it the Haven, and we had some generous donors step up and give us a seed money of about $3 to $4 million, and a couple people, and have really gotten behind this idea. We'll need to raise some more, but the reality is we were able to, first we decided maybe we could put it on our campus downtown. We have a parking lot. We designed a building, but it just was too small, and it really had no green space. It had no parking. It was just, and then the thought of having women and children on the same campus as men, maybe that's not a good idea. So we believe God directed us to asking the Catholic diocese, do you have any properties in Erie or the public schools? We asked both. Is there any property that you would think you would direct us towards? And so they gave us the names of a few, and Mount Carmel School up on Grandview Avenue was available. So we met with the school, met with the diocese, met with Father Larry Richards, and who's the pastor there. And we came to an agreement on a price, and we made an offer, and they accepted the offer. And so we have now designed a beautiful building that will house 70 women and children.
Wow.
With all of the services of childcare, education room, classrooms, laundry rooms, suites for 2 women at a time, units for families that have their own kitchen in them. So it's about 40,000 square feet up there on the hill, and we would be purchasing a number of acres around it. So it's now in the due diligence phase, and so we've gone before the Mill Creek Township zoning, and they have given us a favorable opinion that they believe this is doable within the zoning code. So now the next step is to apply and make a presentation to the zoning board and have them approve the use of this building as a haven for women and children.
That's remarkable. Talk about the current design of the school building. Is it multi-story? Is it single-story?
It is one story. It's a donut, so it has a giant square, and it has a big courtyard in the middle. So
nice.
Our plan is to turn that courtyard into a playground for kids that is secure, some trees out there, and then you have this secure area for children. But the whole outside of it is 24 classrooms, basically, with a dining room, a gym. It has a full gym. And so we're excited that there's room to grow. room to expand. We would do this in phases.
Sure.
The board has instructed me that we're not really going to take out any loans for this. So we're very fiscally responsible at the Erie City Mission for sure. And so I'm going to have to raise the money needed to renovate this project and get it up and running. But we can do it in phases as we grow. And if you build a new building, you got to do it all at once, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But this way, I'm getting a building that's in good condition. Frankly, it just needs to be retrofitted with a sprinkler system and some other things to make it residential, and we'll just have to go through that.
Do the classrooms? Are they kind of a natural division, or do you have to do a lot of walls demo and stuff?
I think it fits itself nicely for
Okay.
what we want to do, and I think the goal is to make the whole building welcoming, maybe very nurturing is the word that they're using, so that women and children feel safe, feel in a very nice atmosphere where they can heal. Women could come in and deal with issues. We went around and toured a couple of other programs in Cleveland and in Buffalo and just kind of see how they run their women and children's programs. This would be a first for the Erie City Mission to be working with women and children. We've never done that in our history.
You had the Grace House.
We had the
just
Grace
for
House.
Women, yeah.
So now it will be work, and they're finding that a woman can come in a program. If the court wants to take her child away, well, suppose she went through the treatment and program with her child, they're finding that the success rate of that is tremendous. Because when a child's taken away from her for whatever reason,
Right.
her focus is now getting my child back, not getting well. That's what we're finding. And so if we could have the child with her, with the right support systems, with child care, with all these different things, and a woman is learning to parent her child and learning to be that mother, I think we're excited to try that and pursue that.
And when you talk about something that's an emergency shelter, are you talking about like they show up and they need it right now, or is this something that a lot of the folks that are in the New Life program, they've already been to rehab at Gadenza or something like that,
Yep.
and they're on their next part of their journey, right?
Sure. Yeah. So there will not be, because of where it's set. There's not a walk-in feel like there is downtown, but we have a lot of relationships with a lot of organizations, including the police department, that if there's a mother and her child in a minivan in the East Side Walmart, which we've gotten that call, by the way,
Wow.
then what do? Right now we have to say we really can't help them. We would like to be able to say, bring them to us. And we've got a room for them with a kitchen and a bathroom. Let them stay 6 months. Let them stay a year while we work with them to find out where they need to go, what tools do you need to get to the next step in your life, as opposed to a 1 week stay, right? Or like an emergency stay. Well, let's come in and spend some time and figure out what it is you need, and your child's safe. They're with you, right? They're in school, and find a way to help. But it is going to be, some of the beds are going to be dedicated to that emergency crisis. We call it a crisis bed, where we might get a call from a church and says, I have a woman here who came to service and she has nowhere to go tonight. Well, we've got a bed for her. Right. So right now I can't help that woman.
Right.
And we've gotten calls from other churches saying, I wish I would have had a place to send her. Right.
Yeah. We used to, there used to be a hotel downtown that sometimes we would pay that $50 hotel fee.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the hotel's gone. Even to that point, and that's not doing anything on the therapeutic side of things.
Well, the whole idea,
really something.
The whole idea behind the Haven is to really provide a nurturing, structured, safe, 24-hour, 7-day-a-week monitored facility that is caring and willing to deal with women and children who are in crisis.
And we're going to get to more about it here and the other things going on at the Erie City Mission. We have our hard break at the bottom of the hour. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We're live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 434. Glad to have with us here Brian Johansson. He is the president and CEO of the City Mission, the Erie City Mission here with, again, kind of an expanded mission is going on, Brian. I mean, you mentioned that you had a strategic plan. Talk about, accepting more on your plate, accepting more responsibility,
Well, I mean, I've been doing this a long time. So the theory is not to grow just to grow. The theory is to grow to meet a need. Mm-hmm. And so as we researched our needs and the needs of Erie, we came up with 3 strategic objectives for the next 3 years. And so the first one was there is a kind of an unknown population in Erie living in these homeless encampments. And we have now engaged 26 encampments, and we engage them every week with 4 volunteer and staff-led teams that go out and engage them. And the goal of this engagement is not to enable anyone to continue living in a dysfunctional, unsafe way. So I'm not there to make you comfortable. What I'm there to do is offer you complete services to get you out of this situation. Like, you can get back in my van and I'll get you a shower, I'll get you a meal, I'll get you a hot shower, a bed, a program of what you need to deal with, housing, what is it you need? And so the first year that we did this, we made 398 visits to homeless encampments the first year that we set out to do this, and we engaged 96 unique individuals living in these encampments around Erie. So a lot of them are, you're driving down 12th Street. There was a huge one behind the Erie Tool Company, right where Liberty Avenue and that overpass is. Yeah. There was probably 20 people living back there last year. We went in and helped all of those folks find housing and get out of there, and then we went in and cleaned it up with volunteers, because it's not a safe place for people to be. And some people were up in arms. Well, that's where they live, and I want to believe that God has something better for them than that situation.
Can you talk about that? Because that's the point of controversy often, that that there's some kind of a human right to determine where you were. I want to live in a tent over by the tracks. Well, that's not even. It's not a lawful thing to be to just plant anywhere. I can't put my tent out in front of the studio here and just plop down. Well, can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. I think for me it comes down to 2 things. One, safety. So if you're out in your tent and it's 9 degrees out and there's snow all around, there's something wrong, right? You're not out recreational camping.
Yeah.
You're out there, and this is where you live, and you're choosing to live there. And I and my team will tell you that the majority, if not most, of those folks are dealing with some kind of mental health or some kind of addiction issue. And I know that's not popular, but the reality is, for someone to make a decision to stay in that tent when it's 9 degrees out and sleep there and risk dying, risk freezing to death, something is holding them there. And I got to believe it's either mental health or some kind of addiction. That is my lived experience of working with this population. So the second thing is, I really believe, as a faith-based organization, that God has a plan for everyone. And I refuse to believe that's God's plan for that person's life. I believe he wants them to be successful. He wants them to be productive. He wants them to be in community. He wants them to be healthy and whole. Living in that situation offers none of that. Mm-hmm. So therefore, there's a spiritual piece to this too, that I believe our teams are going out and praying with people. We're talking to people, offering them every single time we engage them, I can get you help. Today, I can remove you. Of those 96 people we engaged that first year, the statistics will show you that 10 of them accepted help to come back in the van, get a bed, get a program, get housing, get treatment. So 10. So roughly 10% of the people that we aggressively engage, and some people we might have engaged 50 times, right, over that year, they refuse to get help to go to the next level. And I got to believe there's something holding them there that's not healthy. That's where I'm at.
I think last time you were here, you mentioned that not everybody makes it to the next visit. That you lost some.
We had
folks.
a tragic incident where there was a young couple, early 20s, living in a tent over off East Ridge Road, over by the tracks over there. Mm-hmm. And our team went in and met them and engaged them, and they were very cordial, very nice. But we're good. We don't need any help right now. And they went back 2 days later on their routine and to visit them, and the ambulance was there. And the young girl had to be no more than 22 years old. I mean, a young girl was dead of an overdose in that encampment. The gentleman got in the van and came back, was so shook up, and we got him help, got him treatment. He's actually doing well now.
Wow.
But what a tragedy, right? That's someone's daughter. I say to everyone, that's someone's daughter. That could be someone's sister. That could be someone's aunt. That could be someone's mother that we're dealing with. And it becomes real when you think of it that way.
Unreal. So you're making these connections. Are we starting to move the needle at all as far as, less people choosing that lifestyle?
I would love to say yes, but I don't believe I don't believe. I guess the person, like for me, who's working in this world every day, I don't see it lessening. Frankly, I see more women and more children coming through our food lines. I see more elderly coming through our food lines. We have a pantry that we offer every day. We pick up food from Sam's Club and Costco and Country Fair and Starbucks. We do the rounds, and everything we get goes right on the table and given out to the public. No questions asked. There's no signage. There's no, let me see your Social Security card. It's if you need food, we're here to give you food. And a lot of the people in that line are elderly individuals. So I think we're struggling as a society. I think we're really struggling, and I see. I'm sad to say I see more of it coming.
It feels like we're in a moment here with the high price of gas, the high price of groceries, that somebody on the edge. I mean, if you're living on Social Security for $400 a month or whatever it is, can't imagine trying to make ends meet like that.
A lot of those folks in that pantry line are making a decision between medication and rent, or food and rent, or transportation and medication. I think there are sad trade-offs that they're making that the average person doesn't have to make, and that's a very sad thing, and it's getting worse.
Yeah, I mean, again, you think about somebody 69, 72 years old. There's not they don't have another choice of like, okay, I can bootstrap this. The bootstrap days are over.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother topic of our elderly, but we see a lot of them coming through our mission. The average age of a man in our program is about 45 in our recovery program.
And that's come down quite a bit from the old days, right?
I mean, we had a kid in there who just graduated, 19 years old, 20 years old when he graduated. And he had gone through foster care and kind of was done with that. And now what? And got caught up in the wrong but thankfully we caught him before it's too late. But, it's tragic what's happening out there.
Yeah, that is an issue too. Again, there's so many rabbit trails you could go on this thing, but just our system fails our aged out foster folks.
100%.
And I don't know if I haven't heard any solutions toward that end.
Well, I mean, if I can get this women and children's thing up and running, which I believe God is doing now, a vision for down the road would be, what are we doing with these homeless teenagers and these homeless kids that are just lost? I mean, I know when I was 19, I was going to conquer the world, and these kids are just trying to find a place to eat. So maybe we could do something with that in the future. But
Yeah.
So the first thing of our strategic plan was this outreach, and the second thing was we really realized that our residents were doing great with recovery. We were working with them spiritually and health-wise and legally-wise, but we were not preparing them adequately to get into the real world and be successful. So we created, part of the strategic plan was a learning center. We hired a teacher from the Mill Creek school system, and we built a learning center in the mission where every man and every woman has to spend 2 or 3 hours a week working on a resume, working on a certificate, working on reading, working on a GED, working on getting their documentation. A lot of our residents come to us. They've lost their driver's license, their birth certificate. Wow. They're trying to go and get a job with no certificates, no IDs, no nothing. So we spend months trying to help them get all of that back, so that when they leave us, now they've got a resume, they've got some job training, they got a GED. So now we're preparing them to go out into the real world and function.
That's really remarkable. There is a thinking out there. Well, these are these soft skills that you pick up from your parents or from your teachers or whatever. No, not necessarily. Like, there are major percentages of the population that have never picked up on what it takes to go and present yourself and fill out a application, or and now that filling out an application, you have to do all this online stuff. And it's really daunting and intimidating.
Yeah, so our instructor's name is JL, and she will work with them on mock interview skills, and she'll go through an interview with them and tape them and work with them on how they could do that better. She'll work on helping them fill out an application. She's also working with employers in Erie who are sensitive to the fact that a lot of our residents wouldn't pass a background check. Yeah. That's just the reality of it. I mean, it's going to follow them for the rest of their life. They made some mistakes. Yeah. So could we work with some employers who say, you know what, if you've got the Erie City Mission's backing, I'm going to take a chance on you, even though you wouldn't normally pass our whatever regular. And they're entitled to have whatever regulations they need to have. But we're saying we have a lot of folks who are looking for a second chance. And so she's been working with some companies to help us do that.
And just as a side note, we have such a problem with workforce participation just on a market level here. Yeah. And so, 65% of adults 18 to 65 or 60 are in the workforce. That means there's 35% of able-bodied people that would be eligible to work are not.
I agree.
And so by you giving these soft skills and you preparing people back for the workforce, you're actually pushing on that statistic of saying, yes, there's a whole contingency of folks that could enter in and solve some of the workforce shortages that we have around here that really every town has anymore.
Yeah, it's been nice to see, and we have some three-quarter housing, we call it, where these are apartments and some housing that we place graduates in, but they have to be working, and then we open a bank account for them, and then they have to save 70% of their income with us every week into that account. Because what are you spending your money on? I'm feeding you, I'm housing you, I'm doing, helping get you laundry services. So the reality is, when they get done with us, they could have a couple $1,000s in the bank for a first and last months on an apartment, maybe buy a car, these kinds of things to get you moving in the right direction, as opposed to a nice graduation and then, hey, figure it out when you get out there. We're trying to give them as much of a chance as possible.
Let me ask on that part of it. Are you seeing that It could be helpful if we had some more affordable housing and some better transportation. I mean, we still have these macro issues that whether you are coming from the mission or just coming up through typical high school or whatever, it's tough out there these days.
Yeah, I mean, it can be overwhelming, frankly. I think a lot of these young people are facing a lot of things that I didn't have to face when I was 19, 20, 25, right? And it's a different world now. At least if we're helping them deal with the addiction issues, the mental health issues, getting them to the point where they're functioning, and the goal is to put them back into society, to make them contributing to society, paying taxes, put them back there. That's why work is such a big part of the mission, is that even while you're living with us, you're working around helping serve the meals and helping clean the place. You need to learn to give back. And we like the fact that our residents work and learn those soft skills. I mean, simple things you and I take for granted, like showing up on time and, not arguing with your supervisor and, like just not stealing stuff. I think, okay, well, that's common sense. Yeah, but if you weren't raised in that, no one taught you, then maybe they can learn some of that with us in a safe environment. Like, Bud, that's not going to work. If you get a job at UPS, what you did just now means you're fired. Yeah. So let's deal with that in a safe place.
What was that third part of your strategic plan?
So the third part was, you got outreach, you got the learning center, and then there was this haven for women and children. So services for women and children. We saw a need. Like, I was speaking to Jenny Haggerty yesterday from the Mercy Center, good friend, and she said she has 70 women on her waiting list.
Wow. To
get into her, I believe she has 20 units there. And she's doing some great things with all of her different new endeavors. But there's just not enough beds and not enough care for women and children who are struggling.
Yeah. So there it is, and that's why you do a thing like Broadway by the Bay, because we've got some big plans that need to be funded, and so this is where the rest of us can get plugged in and really be a support. So talk again about the event and how people can get plugged in.
Sure. So we started this event last year called Broadway by the Bay. It's at the Warner Theater, and the theory was to bring in some world-class entertainment, a little different than maybe some of the other fundraising avenues in Erie, and put on a great show for a great cause, and have a VIP dinner and all these different things to raise money for our work with women and children. So on May 21st, we will have our second annual Broadway by the Bay. And we have Jean Valjean, Ivan Rutherford, good friend of my wife and I from our time in New York, coming back again, as well as Jackie Burns, who has the distinction of being the longest-running Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway. So you think about, this is as my young staff would say, this is legit. This is some real Broadway stars who are coming to Erie in performing duets and performing solos from West Side Story and Oklahoma and obviously Les Mis and Wicked and all these wonderful performances. We're also partnering with Cathedral Preps Theater Group and Corella Productions to bring some of the young talent of Erie on stage with the artists. Think about that as a high schooler getting to perform with the real Jean Valjean on stage. So that's going to happen on May 21st. You can go to erieevents.com, buy a ticket. It's $49, and it's a great show. You won't be disappointed, and you'll also be able to hear a little bit about our work with women and children there at the event.
Brian Johansson, again, the president and CEO of the Erie City Mission. Thanks for taking the time.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
You got it here. It's more ahead on Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show.